Wrong. Okay, good evening, everybody. Right, Facebook. Okay, how's it going, guys? Well, yeah, my name's DrWeez, and this is my video channel. So tonight, doing something different. It's a project that I've been sitting on for a long time, and it's about time that I got to it. So I'm building a new stream rig, and that's the PC that actually brings you, these streams and all that sort of stuff. So let's just go through the hardware that we'll be using, and that I've selected for this build. So to start off with, we are going to be using Core i7 from Intel. The board that I have chosen is the Maximus 8 Impact, and for the cooling, I'm using the Cooler Master Neptune 140 XL. I've decided to go with the Impact because I need to have a sort of portable machine, so something that's not too big and bulky, and something that can travel around quite nicely with me. For the power, Cooler Master were kind enough to supply me with a V850 power supply, and obviously the CPU cooler as well. So there are some things that I've gone and done offline in preparation for the stream, and let's bring that up onto the bench, and I can show you what I've done so far. So I'm using a Prodigy case. The reason why I've chosen the Prodigy is purely because it's designed around sort of like a small form factor, so it'll only take the small motherboard. And let's just have a look if I can show you what I've done so far. So what I have done is I've mounted in the all-in-one cooler. I'm using the push-pull configuration, so that means it's going to pull air and push air over the system, so that it'll have quite a nice airflow. I've removed the drive bay from the top section over here that you really can't see too well. I've removed the drive base here so I can fit the all-in-one cooler in properly. And then I've fitted the I/O shield for the motherboard, and that's all I've really done offline. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the steps as to what needs to be done, when it needs to be done for basic PC assembly. And I hope I can teach somebody out there something maybe that they didn't know. So now that we've got all that in this side of the case, the next thing to do is really to move on to the motherboard preparation, get that installed, get the memory installed, and get that affixed to the actual board. And yep, to do that, the first thing you'd need to do is your all-in-one cooler. Comes with a bracket. So I've fitted that bracket already on the back here, and it's just got these little screws on the top there. So the next thing I'm going to do is just pop the CPU in, and I'm going to use the Core i7 6700. And always when working with this, you just want to show a little bit of caution. And the last thing you want to do is bend any of those pins, and really just straightforward. The CPU only goes in one way. It's got notches on the top end here, and those notches correspond with the notches at the top there. Okay, so once you've got that up and going, you carefully make sure that you place it correctly and pop it in place. Once that's done, you can pop off the cover, and I only recommend popping off the cover once the CPU is actually in the tray and you're away. So let's just give a quick hello to everyone that's watching on Facebook, on Twitch, or on YouTube. Guys, I am only monitoring the chat on Twitch, so if you have any questions as I'm going along here, please feel free to ask on the Twitch channel, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Alright, so currently my stream machine is using Z97 configuration with a 4770K. Probably enough CPU power in there, but I wanted to just get up onto something a little bit newer, a little bit more powerful, so I can completely remove that out of my mind as to being any issues with dropping frames and whatnot. So what happened was, on the second-hand forums, an offer came up for somebody was looking to swap an impact for a full ATX board, and I was lucky enough to be able to swap my OC formula for the impact, which is actually a board I much prefer. So the next thing we're going to install is going to be the memory, and for the memory I've chosen to go with a set of Kingston AFRs, and they are 8 gig DIMMs, so I will have 16 gigs in total. And yeah, so you just pop that in as well. And the reason why I do this before I put the motherboard in is just it's a lot easier to work out here than it is to work inside there. So the Cooler Master all-in-one cooler has got a sticker on the copper heatsink on this section here. Let me just want to make sure that I'm showing you guys the stuff. So on this section here, so there's a little plastic film that you mustn't forget to take off. Now, when I used to build PCs for a living and deal with people on a daily basis, you wouldn't believe it how often that actually was a true problem. Yes, it does happen. Okay, so the next step is now to just get some mounting screws, and I had a packet of screws here somewhere. Alright, and then we're going to put that board into the case. Those look like pretty ones. Okay, let's just check the thread. So the impact is held down by 4 screws. I have already placed the hold down screws. Okay, so it's a thick coarse thread, so I need 4 of those, so I've got those 4. Okay, so once the CPU is in, the memory is in, you can go ahead now and we can place the CPU. Now I'm going to try and place this so you can see what's going on. Okay, first thing we do is we move the all-in-one cooler out of the road so that we can work freely without it being in the way, and I just move it outside the case. Okay, and then we place the board in, making sure that all your IOs at the back are sitting nicely on the faceplate, and then you can secure it down into the case. So the important thing, the place where I used to always make the most amount of mistakes when building PCs was the stupid backplate for the CPU cooler. So the all-in-one cooler, or the normal CPU cooler, if it needs a backplate, don't forget to put it on before this part. Getting to where you're installing the motherboard and having not installed your backplate is a real pain, because normally it's more than 4 screws that's required. Okay, so I am watching the chat. I don't see any. Let's just refresh the screen, sorry. And Facebook is still going. So the only drawback to using the Core i7 and this configuration with the impact is that my capture card, my screen gap cards, and the HDMI capture card, unfortunately will take up my PCI slot, so I won't be able to have a discrete video card. But it's not a problem, because the RGP on the Core i7 is by far strong enough to deliver the power I need in order to run the streams. Okay, so we've got the motherboard in. The next thing we're going to go and do is just put some thermal paste, and then for thermal paste I use the Thermal Grizzly Cryanaut. I like to use the method of an even layer across the whole surface of the CPU. Okay, and just had a private message from Felix, who's complaining that he keeps missing the streams because he is, unfortunately, he's just getting home from work. So he sends his love to everybody watching, and he wishes he could join us all. Thanks for the feedback, Felix. Alright, so I put a little bit of thermal paste in there. We just go ahead and use a spatula and just even that out. So I'm hoping you can sort of see what's happening there on the stream. So you can sort of get a bit of a view through the top there, that I've removed the grid so that you could have better angles of what was going on. Okay, and that's the thermal paste done. Next we will remove the sticker from the top of the cooler there. So it's as simple as grabbing the corner, it says remove, and then just pull. And the nice thing is it doesn't leave any residue, so that's ready to be applied. Okay, so let's go ahead and try and get this to get into the right place. I don't know if you can see there. I'll try and move around. And you can't really see. Let me try and move it the other way around. Okay. Okay, and I'll just get 2 screws on here, and then hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on. Yes, the all-in-one cooler is 100% assembled. You can assemble it 100% without using a screwdriver, which is quite nice. I just found in these tight spaces, a screwdriver and a pair of tweezers is very, very handy. Unfortunately, my fat fingers aren't always the most nimble. Okay, so let's just turn that around so maybe you can get a better view. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So there you can see what I've done is I've moved the all-in-one cooler along this way, bent it around and placed it on top of the motherboard. It wasn't very difficult. It fits quite nicely and just got plenty of wiggle room. Now I dropped a screw and I got it there. And this is where I said the tweezers come in handy. Okay, got it. So we just need to now put on the other. So for those of you who have been following the Real Bench competition, it comes to a close tomorrow night, I think. A couple of hours left. Really, the competition's heating up. Very good scores coming through. I spent another full day on it yesterday. I managed to put in some okay scores. Still unable to break 170,000. I just can't keep my processor cool enough. So I need to try with my other CPU and see if I can do any better. But to be perfectly honest, I'm not going to blow too much more time. I've got many other projects that need taken care of, like the Pro OC Cup. I'm hoping to get my scores in for that this weekend because my fiance comes back on Tuesday night. And I think I'll have a fairly busy week this week. Okay, so what I've done is I've dropped the screw in there and I'm battling to get it out. I might use the method of turn it upside down and shake it. There we go. It's a little tight in these spots. Okay, so that's one more done. So the other good thing about using impact for the stream rig is that means I've now got a spare impact should my main benching impact pack up, which is always nice for competition time of the year. Is the last thing you want to do is mid-qualifiers or mid-competition or something like that have a board failure and then have to wait a couple of days for a replacement. So that's one good thing about having a second board. Alright, so you don't need to make the screws so tight that you break a sweat trying to loosen them, but you want them to just be, you know, sort of tweaked off, you know, just a nice pressure. If that's a easy way or good way of explaining it. I don't think so, but I can't think of a better word right now. Right, so once you've got that done, the next thing I need to do is just plug in the fan headers. So there's one on this side for the CPU fan. Then I've got a splitter, which I need to use for the two push-pull fans, and that's just a cable, a splitter cable. So you connect this side to the motherboard, and then it splits it to the two fans. The reason why I use that is because the impact onboard has only got two fan headers. It does have an additional card which gives you more fan headers, but I haven't thought about putting that on. I might actually just put that on at a later stage when I install the fan that goes at the back here, because I need to still go and buy a 140mm fan to put at the back there, just to get some more exhausted air out of the system. But for now, for today, I don't think we need to stress too much. Alright, so those two are plugged in. The next thing we need to do is install the PSU. Right, so we'll be installing the Cooler Master into this void over here. The case comes with a little plate that you install onto the power supply before you insert it. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to insert the power supply, and then I want to just have a check for which cables I'm going to use, or how I'm going to run the cable, shall I say, not which cables I'm going to use. I already know which cables I'm using. I only need to use the main motherboard power cable. I only need to use one CPU power cable and then one SATA power cable. So I'm only running the three cables. It makes cable management a lot easier. But what I want to check though is the routes I'm going to take, and also how this power supply fits in the back here, if there's enough space for it. So what I'm starting to notice is actually this power supply is not going to work in here because it's a full length power supply, and once it's installed it goes all the way to the back, and there's going to be nowhere for the cables to go. And I think maybe let me try and show you that on the stream as to what I'm looking at. So I've got another power supply I can use for that. It's not a problem. That just means I'll send this one back to Cooler Master. So if you have a look at the back here, when the power supply is inserted, you see it goes all the way up to the back of this panel. Now these cables plug in to the back of the power supply, and there's no way that's ever going to work, not unless you take out this cage and then modify this bracket. You take it out. I don't need such a big power supply, it's just one that I had. What I'm going to do is I'll install then, what have I got? I've got I think I'll install my half length Be Quiet, or my Seasonic might even fit in here. Okay, well anyway, So once the power supply was in, it would be a case of connecting up the serial ATA drives, connecting up the power cable, and then that's it. The PC is then built, and the machine is ready to go. The only other thing I'd have to do once that had been done is to switch off the current streaming rig, so that's the one I'm currently using to speak to you guys, and then actually take the hard drive out and take the streaming card out and install it into here, and then we'd be done, ready to stream. So I'm going to end this little short video there. I hope it's been sort of full of information. Probably not. It probably has been, but I think that's about it. I'm going to be back in about an hour to do Pro OC Cup benching. So I'm going to finish building this up now. I'm going to move the hard drive across, move the stream card across, and then be back to do Pro OC Cup a little later. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of an information session. I will be putting this up on YouTube tomorrow, so you'll be able to check the replay out. If you have any questions, please drop me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I guess until next time, happy benching.